An old Chinese proverb says, 江山易改，本性难移. It's easier to move mountains and rivers than to change the nature of a man. Why do I choose this saying as an opening? Because today I'm going to talk about Chongqing, and I think that this city represents this saying very much. When I first arrived at this city a few years ago, I was astonished. Why would people build a city in such rough conditions? These days, I went to Chongqing to find out more about this magical city. It's just 4-hour drive from Chengdu, where I've lived for almost 10 years. In this episode, I'm going to tell you what I learned for the last 2 weeks in Chongqing. I'm going to tell you about the history of this place. I'm also going to show you what I experienced here, and I'll give you some useful tips if you want to come here for travel. So, let's go! First, I'd like to highlight the most important historical events of this city. I went to Museum of the War of Resistance and Three Gorges Museum to learn about the history of this place. Three Gorges Museum is quite hot, just look at the queue. Maybe it's because it's for free, or maybe it's because we went there on weekend. Alright, so Chongqing played a key role since the ancient times, mostly because it's at the crossroads of Yangtze River, the biggest river in China, and Jialing River. Just by looking at the map, you can easily see that it's a crucial spot in southwest China. It's also connected to some key historical events, like for example, Mongolian invasion on Europe. Chongqing people say that we, Europeans, should be grateful to them, because the grandson of Genghis Khan died here when trying to seize a small fisherman village in Hechuan. This eventually led to giving up the Europe expedition. But let us skip the ancient times and talk about the last 100 years, which were crucial for this city. Second World War. Japanese army was invading China. They took many territories and were about to seize Nanjing. So the capital was moved to Chongqing. At that time, people built many air raid shelters. There are over 1,600 such shelters in the whole city. Now, many of them serve as hotpot restaurants, alcohol storage, even gas stations, and many more. So Japanese army couldn't take the city, and it's mostly because of the spirit of Chongqing people. The more they bomb, the stronger we are. Chongqing people survived the bombings, and after Japanese surrendered, the capital was moved back to Nanjing. After that, Chongqing started growing in an incredible speed. It was closed to foreigners for many years. China was getting ready for the potential Third World War. At that time, there was a Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union. Chinese were afraid that if any of them wins, they'll have to prepare for the defense. But the Soviet Union collapsed, and after that, Chongqing opened to the world in 1992, the year that I was born. Life of common people got better, and the biggest military factory switched from producing weapons to producing cars, making it home to one of the biggest car brands in China, Chang'an. The name of the brand literally translates as long peace. In 1997, Chongqing became one of 4 province-level cities. It means that Chongqing is a province and a city at the same time. It's directly governed from the capital. It also means that its borders are very broad, which makes it the biggest city proper in the world. The size of it is like 5 times bigger than Beijing, 52 times bigger than London, or 104 times bigger than New York. Its population is over 30 million people, which is nearly the same as Poland's. It's even more astonishing if you look at its landscape. How do you build so many homes for so many people on a terrain like this? Let's have a look at the apartment we rented for the time we stayed in Chongqing. This is how you enter it. What's more, Chongqing is very cheap. The price we paid for a 3-room apartment with big living room was around 350 Chinese yuan per day. This is the view from the balcony. Later, we moved to the other part of the city and we also paid like 360 per day. You can really find some nice accommodation for like 100 RMB per person. Life is cheaper than in Chengdu, which is a big surprise for me. Usually when we go to the mountains, prices would be outrageous because in order to deliver the goods to the top, you need time and money. People doing such jobs at the tourist spots can earn like 1000 RMB per day. Muscled guys not necessarily can do this job very well. In Chongqing, such physically demanding jobs are also very widespread. Like in the past, there was a job called boat tracker. It was a dangerous job. Later, when ships were much more advanced, boat trackers were no longer needed, so most of them took up a job of a bangbang. This job involves transporting heavy things on your shoulders. There's even a popular TV series about them, and sometimes you can see bangbangs around here even till today. It is hard physical work and the conditions are really rough. You need to know that Chongqing is one of the 4 furnaces of China. The heat is almost unbearable for outside people, especially in July and August. So here's my advice. Don't come here in summer. We are used to high temperatures in Chengdu, but this is another level. The first day it was 28 degrees and it was so hot, so stuffy, we were drenched in sweat. The next few days it was nice and cool, but the thermometers showed a higher temperature. It made us realize that the weather forecast is useless here. If you still want to come here in summer, then you might want to equip yourself with 藿香正气, which is the best medicine for heat stroke. Chongqing climate is really special. There is a high level of humidity here. It's the main reason why people eat so spicy here. People eat spicy to get rid of moisture from their bodies. The most popular dish is hot pot. They sometimes call Chongqing Hot Pot City. They say there are around 30,000 hot pot restaurants in the whole city. Outstanding. Then there is Chongqing Xiaomian, Chongqing noodles. You can also find them in almost every city in China, but my personal favorite is taro chicken. 鱼耳鸡. It consists mostly of taro, chicken, potatoes, and some other vegetables. It looks spicy, but it's not really. Maybe I got used to food here after so many years in Chengdu. But Sichuanese spicy is different from Chongqing. In Chengdu, they use more peppers, which make you numb, while in Chongqing, it's just pure spicy, much more spicy than in Sichuan. Now let me tell you about more tourist attractions waiting for you in Chongqing. For sure, the biggest ones would be Hongyadong and Liziba metro station. But watch out for the weekends and holidays. It's just crazy how many people there are. You can also check out the Crown Escalator. It's so long that you have to buy a ticket to go on it. If you like high altitudes, you gotta go to the top of the Raffles City. Me and my bro are afraid of heights, but we forced ourselves to go on a skywalk. It was insane. There are some other attractions too, but these things are not for me. So I didn't do too much research in this field. But I know you can definitely find some more attractions like bungee jumping and other stuff around Chongqing. There's also a new built shopping mall that looks like some futuristic jungle or something. Chongqing is still continuing to create unbelievable structures. Talking about the structures, Chongqing is also called a city of bridges, as there are so many beautiful, enormous bridges spreading across the biggest river in China. Actually, Chongqing has many other names too. AD Fantasy City. It's mostly because of its unique structure. Wherever you go, you just keep on seeing some outstanding sights. It's also very hard to move around because you never know which floor is the ground floor. Another very important name for Chongqing is Wudu, the fog city. Local rappers often like to say, at this point, many people would think that the fog is actually smog resulting from air pollution, but it's not the case. Air pollution is really low here. It's mostly water evaporating and humid climate we mentioned before. Actually, fog makes this city even more magical, mysterious. There are so many beautiful sights if the weather is nice. However, on our journey, we were mostly exploring urban areas. Next time I come here, I want to see things like 天坑地缝，芙蓉洞，酉阳桃花源，大足石刻。There is so much to see in Chongqing. We spent here 2 weeks, but I feel like we haven't even seen 1% of what it hides within its mountains. It's heaven for photographers. You can take some awesome photos from so many different angles. Top of the buildings, touring boats, top of the mountains, cars, trains, or even cableway. You just need to be cautious as to flying the drone. There are many places in which drones are forbidden, or there is a limit on how high you can fly.
So have that in mind.
One more word about the public transport in Chongqing. You can't find too many bicycles here. In Chengdu, they are at every corner. E-bikes are not suitable for this city either. A lot of people use motorbikes. But when it comes to electric cars, there are more and more of them, not only in Chongqing, but in the whole China. But I'm gonna tell you more about it when I make an episode about cars in China. One more thing worth mentioning is the Three Gorges Dam on the Yangtze River. Since the ancient times, Chinese people are famous for massive water conservancy projects. It's just something out of this world. Although it's in Yichang, which belongs to Hubei province, but it's a huge power station that has an impact on all the cities located by the Yangtze River. Have a look at this road going along the riverside. Chongqing people say that in 2020, this was all underwater. There was a big flood that resulted from drastic rise in water level here. Hard to imagine, right? We are so small comparing to Mother Nature, but Chinese are capable of domesticating even the biggest rivers. There is a legendary tale of Da Yu, a mythical leader that tamed the floods. The tale goes that he had a Wushan goddess to help him with that. Wushan is the place in Chongqing in which the remains of a prehistoric man were discovered. It is said to be 2 million years old. So you can see that this place has a long history. Local people put so much work and determination to build such an amazing city. It's clearly seen that Chongqing people carry a heavy burden on their shoulders. You might say that their sacrifice brings benefits to the whole China. Living here is a challenge, not only because of the climate and the landscape. There are some more setbacks of living in Chongqing. Mosquitoes are one of them. It's sometimes like living in a forest. Plenty of insects all around the place. Also, the smell in many parts of the city is not very pleasant either, especially in some old buildings. But my general feeling about Chongqing is super positive. There is still a lot of stories about this magical city, but I'll leave them for you to discover. Just remember to learn history from many sources. In order to make this episode, I studied materials presented in China museums, internet, as well as Western sources like YouTube, Wikipedia. I also talked to elderly people who remember old times or remember stories told by their parents and grandparents. You know that every country has its own version of history, so I'm not gonna say which one is one and only. Just go and study for yourself. 江山易改，本性难移. It's easier to move mountains and rivers than to change a nature of a man. Now you see what I meant presenting this saying at the beginning? The character of people of Chongqing stays unbent, even by huge mountains and rivers. But this saying has even broader meaning. It is very important for me too, because when I saw it years ago, it changed my worldview. Before, I thought that people can change, but it's actually their behavior that changes. The natural instincts stay the same. But I don't want to get too philosophical here. Maybe you have some interesting thoughts on this topic. If yes, you can leave them in comments. Don't forget to like and share it to people that might find my videos useful. See you in the future videos. Cheers!